So the ceiling that you guys experience in this is business, sales, everything related is oftentimes not your skill set, right? This is why the best closers aren't always the most skilled. They are the ones who have the most skill and also adopt the principles that I'm going to talk about today. My story starts maybe very similar to some of you guys, maybe completely different. Okay, I am 26 years old. Like I said, grew up in Canada and I took an incredibly traditional path to life in general, like very not what you typically see in these 19, 20, 21 year olds in online business. And I also didn't grow up on the wrong side of town, right? Let's put it that way. Like I actually grew up in upper middle class and it kind of caused me to have this like complacent identity and complacent mindset, right? Everything kind of came to me and I was incredibly average at everything. And as a result of being average, I could kind of just get by without trying very hard. And I never really put myself forward. But then when I was 23, 24 years old, I had come off the back of doing a finance degree, right? So I spent 4 years getting a Bachelor of Finance here in my hometown, never left my hometown. Before that, I was playing a lot of football and I quit football to get into university, got this degree, and I never really liked finance. Finance just seemed cool to a white guy in his early 20s or in his late teens, right? It just seemed like, okay, I don't really know what I want to do. There's probably a good few ways to make money in the world, and I certainly don't have the confidence to be a business owner, and I don't think that that's the path I'm going to take. So let me just fucking throw a dart at a wall and see what sticks on what might be the coolest thing that I could be. You watch The Wolf of Wall Street, and you're like, yeah, this is, or not The Wolf of Wall Street, sorry, The Big Short, and like all these different movies, and you're like, oh, this is fucking sick, man. I want to be an investment banker. That's what I thought I wanted to do. So got this degree, 4 years. I ended up getting a job at one of the biggest banks in Canada. I became a financial analyst, after which my contract expired and I got a job at the government of Canada. If you're a Canadian, I don't know if there's anybody in here who is, getting a job at the government of Canada is basically like being secure in your income for the rest of your life, even if you literally do fuck all every single day and even commit crime. Like you literally would have to commit a heinous crime to lose your job in the government. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now they're improving that as of late, but that's how it was. And so I landed this job. I was complacent, and in about 2024, I went on a trip to Germany. Or actually, right before I went on this trip to Germany, I met this guy at a pool party. This guy was running an info business. He had a seven-figure business here in my hometown, helping people with home services. And he was talking at this pool party. He was like, "Yeah, man, like I make money online. Like making money online is easy. Like it's sick." And me, at this point, I already hate my fucking job. I hate who I am. I hate the trajectory that my life is going in. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to wait until I'm 65 to be able to travel. Like that's ridiculous, right? And so I came to this conclusion. And so as he was saying these things, I felt compelled to talk to him. And he essentially said that there was this thing called high ticket sales, right? This thing called like online information. In order to make money, you can make 10K a month USD. And I was like, well, I'm fucking sold. How can I do that? And so he decided to essentially offer me an opportunity. He put me in touch with his assistant, gave me her number, and I was spam texting them. Right after this, I went to Germany for Euro 2024. Right, really enjoyed my time, and I was spamming them as I was in Germany. I was like, hey, let's jump on a call. Hey, I want this opportunity. I want it so bad. Ghosted, ignored, ghosted, ghosted, ghosted. 3.5 weeks go by not hearing a thing. And finally, when I get home, I basically sent like a last ditch text message and I say, hey, I know you guys haven't gotten back to me, but I really want this opportunity. I know you think I'm just like another Canadian person who doesn't work hard, who works in the government. I will prove myself to you. Right. And so finally I heard back and they gave me a shot. I became a setter, the only setter inside of this info business. Right. Mind you, prior to this, I have literally zero sales experience. The only thing that I have going for me is that I used to be in customer service with inbound banking shit, and I've always been a relatively good communicator. I know how to talk to people. I understand human psychology. I'm empathetic with people's situations, etc. I get into setting, and within like 15 days, like I'm slinging these deals. This is easy. Are you kidding me? I can pretend to be the offer owner in the DMs and tell them that the right hand man is going to hit them up and I give them a call. Bro, I'm swooning these fucking people. This is the easiest thing I've done in my whole fucking life. Right. And so he's getting these set calls. He's like, Tristan, you're doing so well. And then all of a sudden, it just so happens that he wants to run a webinar, right? And he wants to run this webinar because the interest around his offer is at its peak. This is around like August, September timeframe of 2024, I believe, right? At this time, I'm still working in the government. I'm doing time theft about 6 hours a day to set appointments for this dude while still working in my government job. Okay. And then he comes and tells me, he's like, I need you to close. I need you to get into a sales position. And I was like, okay, like I've never done sales in my whole, I literally have zero sales experience, like none at all. The only thing I've done is set these appointments for him. Within that first, let's call it a 45-day period, with a combination of setting on a 6% commission and closing on webinar deals for which I was taking 8 calls a day from webinars after never having any sales experience, I made $10,000 US dollars in commission. I made 10K USD in my first month ever being in sales. Let's call it 45 days, maybe 45, 50 days. Right. And so I'm sitting there like, I just fucking hit the jackpot. My life has changed completely. Like, are you kidding me? Why the fuck would I work for the government? Right. But something happened after that that changed everything. I made these $10,000 and it was really nice. It was really great. But I was kind of like, this is hard, man. Like, I'm not a salesperson. I don't have the emotional intelligence required to like withstand this. And so going from never taking any sales calls to taking 8 sales calls a day, right? 45 minutes to 60 minutes long on a B2C biz op offer, teaching home service business owners how to scale was hard. I wasn't ready for it. And so the success immediately led to me experiencing a little bit of burnout. I made then 7K in my second month. And in my third month, notwithstanding the fact that the offer was dying out a little bit just in terms of the interest around what they were pushing at the time, but I made 2K. I made 2K after being on top of the world like less than 60 days before that. I was not prepared for that type of emotional roller coaster, like not even remotely. I was working in a fucking government job getting paid like 4K a month to just vibe and like push numbers, right? Now, what happened was it got so bad and my state was so affected that I literally quit sales, right? I convinced myself that there was a need in this business for an operator. There was a need in this business for a back-end systems guy. Oh, I'm a financial analyst. I'm the operations guy. I'm the back-end guy. I basically did a self-fulfilling prophecy into getting myself out of sales and into ops, right? And so my state was so fucked going into this position that I won't fully blame myself, but both me and the offer owner, who are still friends to this day, essentially blew up the offer to the point where in July we made $13,000 when we had made 100 some K in October or November of the month the year before. And it reached the point where I was like, yo, what is happening? Like we just 10x reduced the amount of income we were making. Is it me? Is it because I don't know what I'm doing? I'm the operator now, right? I became the COO of the business. Like I don't know what's happening. And so I just, this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like it must be me. But then eventually I realized through what I'm going to explain to you guys today, alongside some aspects of performance psychology, re-engineering the way that I was like looking at myself and the circumstances around me, what had to change. And so from that month in July up until 12 months after I had entered this sales industry, let's call it, the business made $107,000. And that was the month that I left, right? I left at the top of their performance. I think they went on to produce like 250, 300 in the several months that followed. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, I left on purpose. Not because I didn't think that I could grow anymore within this business. I certainly think that I could have, but I had hit a personal growth ceiling. There were things that I didn't understand about myself still, and about why this like thing affected me so much. Like when I first got into sales, and my own identity and all these different things that I had to go and confront, right? This fear of failure, this fear of a lot of different stuff, right? And so I left and I went on this giant transformation which eventually led me to being on this call here with you guys today and doing what I do now, which is performance psychology for founders, right? So helping 150K a month, 200K a month business owners kind of unlock that next level of performance. I also work with like closers who are between 20 and 30, business owners at like 50, but nonetheless. What I want you guys to take away from today and what I was saying at the beginning of the call is The difference between a 20K per month closer and a 50K per month closer is oftentimes not the skill set required or the skill sets that either one of them have. Because the 20K per month closer knows the frameworks, they're good at sales, they know how to handle, everything that somebody might throw at them, and they're genuinely good at their craft, right? Whereas the 50K per month closer has the exact same traits. They know the frameworks, they know how to handle everything, and they're actually good at their craft. So what is different, right? If you test them on their knowledge, you can't tell them apart. There's not that much difference. They know the reframes, they know the tonality, the cadences, they know like the different archetypes of personality that people have. They understand human psychology. And so a lot of people might say that the difference between those people is that 50K per month closer wants it more. That guy works harder. That guy brings more energy constantly to his calls. And all of these things are actually true, but it's also the least useful advice that I could give you or that you could hear from someone because every single one of you guys wants it more. Every single one of you guys knows you need to want it more. You work 7 days a week. You put in the hours. You show up to literally every single call inside of this community with Jordan. You show up to all of your mock calls. You study your own calls if you're on an offer, right? You do all the extra work. You do this after you have a bad month. You write down what needs to be improved. So what is different, right? It's that work ethic, desire, and energy are not inputs. They are outputs, right? And so desire comes back to you, and this level of work ethic comes back to you when wanting the result that you have stops being dangerous to the part of your mind you don't understand, right? State is not instead of skill. State is what the skill that you have within flows through for you to create the output of the good salesperson, right? If we're going to pretend that we're essentially on a sales call with someone and we're going to give them like some fucking reframe or something or some technical skill that we know we have in sales, when we say something, it'll either land like a fact or it'll land like a request or an attempt, right? Like the classic heavy is the head that wears the crown. Like, I don't know what Jordan tells you guys about that, but when I was using it fucking a year and a half ago, I used to like it. I don't know why I get so much hate. But nonetheless, dependent on the way that you say that, somebody might actually internalize it. Or they'll just look at you like you just fucking talk gibberish to them, right? Now, that is tonality, that is cadence, and that is confidence. And so this confidence in how you deliver that comes from the state that you operate from, even though you're saying the same words, right? And so this also develops what my friend told me, who's a setter, is closer breath, right? What you need when you're a salesperson and you're operating from a below level state that you are not in control of is you have the need to feel safe in the conversation, right? You need certainty the prospect needs to feel safe in the conversation. They need to feel certain that the outcome that you're essentially pitching them is a guaranteed thing for them. Otherwise, they won't feel like they want to move forward. But what they receive back from you is an energy from a guy who needs something from them, right? You're so fucking attached to the close. You're so attached to the decision they're going to make at the end of the call because you know you want the money. You need the money. I need this, right? And you fucking protrude that energy into the conversation. They feel that from you, right? A sale is a transfer of energy. That's all it is. You are transferring the energy that you have within to the prospect, and sometimes you are giving them confidence in themselves that they don't otherwise have without you. You're giving them certainty in the outcome that they don't otherwise have without you. You're transferring your energy into them. And if your state is off and you're doing things out of a place of, yeah, man, like, fuck this guy. Like, let's say if there's somebody selling on a looks maxing offer right now, like, I apologize, but let's say you're selling a looks maxing offer and you just want the commission, even though you know this person on the other end of the call is 10 times more handsome than you or 10 times more attractive than you, and yet you're still just trying to sell them on this, right? You're doing that from a state of need. It's not from a place of putting the prospect forward, right? And so if your state is off, you transfer the opposite energy of what that person needs to feel in order for them to buy. And again, this isn't don't have skill. This is a complement of skill. The worst part about it is you don't know that you are doing it when it happens. You can't. It is a subconscious behavior. It's a pattern that you don't control, right? How can none of you guys would consciously get on a call and not do shit that's going to get you closer to the sale, right? When you get on a call and you don't apply the frameworks that Jordan gives you, you don't do that out of spite for Jordan or out of spite for you wanting to succeed. You do it unconsciously. It's not a part of your brain that you control, right? And so you'll listen to the things that the person is saying to you, and it sounds fine. You're inside the call. And if you don't close, you might end up blaming the lead. You blame the timing of the market, or you blame the ads, or you blame, I don't know what you blame, the funnel or the pre-call resources or assets. Like the lead was not educated enough, right? You just say this person was never going to buy under the circumstances. But it's just bullshit. You're just coping because every skill in the world is something that you could have, yet you would continue to quietly sabotage your deals every month as a result of operating from a below level state and not being conscious that you're doing it, never seeing it happen, right? Now, these are 6 things that you've done that have nothing to do with skill. I'm hoping that at least one of the things I'm going to say in the next, let's call it 10 minutes, is going to be something that you recognize from your own behaviors, or that you can at least acknowledge that it's not entirely likely that it's maybe something you've done that you haven't noticed, right? You check your spot on the leaderboard. You might have been number 1 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, and now you're number 3 or number 4, and you are fucked. You can't handle that, right? You don't just start to feel disappointed in your performance. You start operating differently out of a place of like anxiety, a place of, and it's not a positive, like, oh yeah, I'm going to beat out this person. I want to be the best. Some people use it to get there, but you are operating from a place of, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Maybe, these people are better than me. Maybe they're just getting better leads, and you blame external circumstance for why you're not in the position that you want to be in, right? Different call, different energy, different guy that afternoon. So to give you guys a great example, if you are in 3rd position on the leaderboard when 2 weeks ago you were 1st, and you have 2 calls set up at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. on a Thursday, and both of those calls no show, or actually better yet, both of those calls show and you don't close them, and you see the guy that's in 1st place now instead of you close a deal, all of a sudden you take that as an attack. You're just like, oh, fuck, man. Like, that guy must be getting better leads. And so as a result of that, the call that you have scheduled at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., you just show up differently on it. You don't exude confidence and certainty and the skill set that you have when you actually get on it. You're out of this place of need, this place of lack, this place of, I don't have full confidence in my ability to actually get this person to where they want to go. Right. And so you don't apply all of the skills and frameworks that Jordan gives you because you're acting, for lack of a better term, like a pussy. Right? Because you need the close or you don't believe in yourself. Now, when you go from spot 1 to spot 3 on the leaderboard, that's not just a number moving. It's not a level of cash collected. It's an attack on your internal identity, which is why it impacts you so much and you don't realize it. Right? Oh, here's a good, I kind of got ahead of myself, right? 2 of your teammates close a deal. Oh, fuck, now I need to close one, right? He closed one and I didn't. Somebody posts a win and consciously you tell yourself, oh, that's great for the team. I'm so glad the team is winning. I'm so glad my co-closer closed the deal. Good for him. I'm going to fucking put an emoji in the Slack channel. But underneath, in half a second before you consciously have any ability to realize that it's happening, you decide something else. His deal or their deal or her deal takes literally nothing away from you. You still have prospects on your calendar. You still have your skill set. You're still good at what you do, but it just doesn't feel that way, right? That's not you being a bad teammate. That is the tell that there's something wrong with the way that you're perceiving things. Number 2. I think number 2. Sure. 3. Sorry, I fucked it. One deal reaching on to the next, right? So you feel behind. As a result of you not closing a deal, you feel behind. So the words on the sales call come out heavy. You're not like in flow state. You're not recognizing the patterns of speech that this person is telling themselves in order to get them closer to the close. You're kind of late on your responses. The words that come out of your mouth don't come natural, right? This person gives you an objection, and then you start explaining why the product is so good. Or this person gives you an objection and you just don't handle it. You just let them go, right? They give you a partner objection, and then you're like, oh yeah, like let's just reschedule or a follow-up when you easily could have overcome it, right? You get to the ask, but you already know what's going to happen. The reason this is so detrimental and the reason state is so important is because this is what gets a closer like myself when I was explaining to you my story at the beginning, a closer from where they're operating from at peak performance to having a bad day turn into a bad month, right? Because a bad day is just natural. Like we're human beings. You're going to have a shit day. Maybe like your girlfriend or your boyfriend broke up with you. You might perform less good on that specific day. But you allow that to turn into a bad week of performance and a bad month of performance, right? So one call happens and it doesn't go the way you want. You let it affect your state. That affects your day. Call two, three, four. You're just not the same closer. A week goes by and it's not simply the call anymore. You're just in a mood, right? The mood turns into a month. And then a month, you start looking for evidence that you are not a good closer and it becomes a story about who you are. Very, very dangerous, right? On the dead days, a disqualified lead, two no-shows cause you to scroll or procrastinate and play video games or do something else, right? When what you should be doing when you have a DQ lead or two no-shows is sales activity. But because you're in this fucking low frequency state, you go to your bad habits because you're trying to cope with dopamine. It's self-sabotage. We all do it all the time unless we understand why we do it and overcome it. This isn't a discipline problem. You guys are sitting here on this call, you have some sort of discipline. You just have it, right? You're not undisciplined. Because you show up to this, you take the sales calls, and you show up to the meetings with Jordan and everybody inside this community. You just simply have no control over your state and thus no control over the sales activities that you should be performing. Number five, results become identity. I kind of inferred this on some of the other ones. I lose some deals equals I am a shit closer, right? You don't review anything. You don't diagnose anything. You just simply quietly change your opinion of yourself based on 4 data points. And now you're taking calls as a guy who thinks he's a shit closer, which I don't need to be the person to tell you that if you go into a call thinking you're not going to close it, I guarantee that person doesn't close. Like 10 times out of 10, unless you're like just a god, right? And if you were a god at closing and you could still close somebody, even if you thought they weren't going to close, imagine what you would be capable of if you did think they were going to, and you operated from a high state, right? I like to say the sentence leverage amplifies psychology. So if your increased skill set is an indication of leverage, then the more you focus on your psychology, the more you're going to be able to increase that leverage. None of these things are a skill problem. So the questions that you should be asking yourself if you're underperforming over the course of weeks, days, months, isn't whether or not I have the skills necessary to perform at the level I want, right? The question should become, what other than skill is stopping me? Where does this come from? To answer that, I have to go back a very long way. This is not going to be a sales related example, but I think it's a great example about how inherent like events and stuff cause us to operate in certain ways and create certain beliefs that affect us to perceive reality in different ways and affect our state, right? So a lot of people here might be in sales because they like want to prove everybody wrong or they want something more from their lives, right? Whatever the motivation may be, it's very important for you as an individual to understand, where does that motivation truly come from? Wanting to prove everybody wrong isn't because you're trying to be that guy. It's typically coming from a place of lack or a place of insecurity. Just putting it out there. So for me, when I was 13 years old, up until the age of 18, I played very high level football or soccer, I guess, where I'm from. I got the opportunity to travel to the UK, travel to France, trained with teams like Fulham, teams like Everton, which was fun. But I was never really like the best player on any of my teams. I was kind of just bang on average, maybe like bottom third of the squad. I was definitely like a bench starter, let's say, especially on this team when this event happened. And I was training. We had a practice. I remember the exact dome. I remember the exact field. I remember exactly, who the coach was. I remember the teammates that I had. And there was one guy on the team who was definitely better than everybody else. Like this guy played for the province or the state if you're from the US. He ended up playing with on Team Canada with Jonathan David, who is now playing at Juventus and who plays for Team Canada. And I was trying to dribble through some of my teammates, and he took the ball from me. And now, objective situation, like you're going to lose the ball when you're in training or even when you're in a game, but is what he said after. He said, "Why is this guy even trying?" Now, if I tell you that, you might say, "Yeah, that's shitty to hear." Yeah, it was shitty to hear. My teammates made they didn't make fun of me, but they laughed at that statement. I was already a little bit insecure. And it's more about why that statement held so much weight. I had remembered that specific event for like, a few times over the course of the next 12 years before I kind of overcame it and confronted it at the age of 24, 25. But what I never understood was, why do I remember that moment? How many times did I lose the ball in training in my 18 years of playing football? How many things have I experienced in my 25 years of life to suggest that this is one thing that I remember more than everything else? Well, it's because it created a belief system. It was a very emotionally intense moment that created a belief about what I could do and why I do things. So the belief system that was created was, if I try my best and really put myself out there, then I open myself up to the possibility of failure. And if I fail publicly, that means that I am opening myself up to the possibility of judgment and embarrassment from other people. That might sound fucking corny to you. It dictated my entire life. Remember, I told you that I was a complacent person who only ever got into finance because it looked like it was an interesting topic. I only like really did a thing. I never thought I would run a business. Why do you think that was the case? Because I wasn't willing to take the risks necessary that would produce this outcome, right? And so in intramural football in university, I never tried my best. I always said, "Oh, it's because it's not that serious. Like, I'm better than all these people. Like, these people have never played. I played at the highest level. Like, I don't need to try my best. I'll still score 3 goals." Protection mechanism. Why? Because if I did try my best and it was abundantly clear that I played significantly higher level than these people and for much longer, and we still lost the game, that would be a judgment on my character and who I was. These people would judge me, right? The other thing too, I never tried to start a business. I never tried to do anything. I never tried to get into sales. A performance-based fucking position at the age of 18, forget it. Forget it. Impossible for me to actually put myself on the line like that. Because what did that mean? If I failed, other people would make fun of me. I certainly would make fun of myself. I would feel lesser than. So what did I do? I got a degree, right? And then what that led to was, doing drugs and drinking alcohol in university and numbing the fact that I wasn't the man that I desired to be. All because of this fucking one moment right here. Well, maybe a collection of them, but this one specifically, right? And when you're in sales, if this is the case, and you constantly tell yourself that, I'm doing it because I want to prove people wrong, well, I guarantee you get to 20K per month as a closer, and all the people that you wanted to prove wrong suddenly don't give a fuck. You just sit there telling yourself, okay, why? Like, why am I even doing it in the first place, right? And that's a lot of the problems that I deal with or help these $100,000 a month business owners with, right? Okay, I kind of did this already. So here's the mechanism, right? Your state is not a mood that you operate from. Well, technically it is a mood. The mood is just a byproduct, right? It's simply the output of what you believe to be true about yourself, the world, others, and the universe. So the way I like to kind of define reality is like, we have our beliefs. Our beliefs will dictate our perceptions, and our perceptions will dictate the emotions that we feel from those events objectively. So if you have a belief that, I'm a loser, for example, and or one person is confident in themselves, the other person's a loser, and both of these people go on dates, and right before the date, the person cancels. Person who believes they're a loser is going to perceive that situation as if, oh, this person hates me, I must have done something wrong, and then they're going to go into a depression, right? That's the byproduct emotion. The other person who's confident in themselves is going to receive this text saying, hey, I'd like to cancel last minute, unfortunately something came up, and they're just going to be neutral about it because there's no indication for them to think that, oh, this person fucking hates me and there's something went wrong, right? And so the emotional state that is a byproduct is just neutrality. That doesn't affect them, right? You see how that mechanism kind of works? It's like one after the other. And it happens for you as a salesperson too. Belief, perception, state, performance, right? Two closers will get the same objection. One believes a no is information, whereas another person will believe that a no is a verdict on their skill set. Identical circumstances, but beliefs completely changing the actual output of what the person is feeling and believing. These are the three beliefs that I see in closers over and over and over. I have a couple of clients who are closers. My self-worth is contingent upon my performance. What it produces, you never fully go for it, right? You kind of like leave a little bit in the tank. You got more to give. You ask for the close softly, or you don't really give it your all, whatever it may be. A soft ask that fails is never a verdict on your skill set. It is just a call where you really didn't go for it and you probably could have tried harder. And so you give yourself the excuse, um, yeah, I didn't close that guy. Like I probably could have, but like I couldn't be asked, like he was just like a classic B2C prospect. I didn't want to fucking go back and forth with this guy. You're just coping, right? And that's because if you were to give it your all and not close the guy, you think that that would be a determination on your skill set and your identity. You never test your ceiling, kind of like I didn't, right? Not once, and you never will, because the strategy you have is built to prevent the test. You only overcome the test, and you can only do the test if you actually have the understanding of this and overcome it. Number two, other people winning is an attack on my ability to produce. Oh, I just like zoomed out my camera. That was weird. Which is mathematically insane. It makes no fucking sense. Everybody, if you guys are in closer teams with 3, 4, 5 people, them closing deals doesn't take a dollar out of your pocket, like not a single time. So what is actually happening? You're comparing the level of revenue they produce and the money that they make to you, right? And what is that? You're comparing your self-worth to that. And worth, the way you got it set up, is a fixed pie. I don't really like how that was written, but if there's only so much to go around and you believe there's only so much to go around, then anybody else winning means that you inherently win less. That's just bullshit, right? The cost. The best information on closing more is sitting inside the closers around you who are closing more than you. And you can't go get it because asking for help from your fellow closers or reviewing their calls to see what they maybe did better than you means admitting that they're ahead. And your ego can't take that, right? And then the third one is my skill level is determined by this month's production. This is probably the most detrimental one, I think, across all of them. You are not an employee, okay? You are technically speaking, depending on the setup you have with your company, you're an independent contractor. You're a business owner. Everybody in here doing sales right now is a business owner. You guys are contracted by the companies that you work for to close deals for them. That is your function. That is what you do, right? I'm pretty sure, at least in the US, I don't think most of you guys are on W-2s, right? You guys don't have benefits. They can hire and fire you at will, right? If you have a bad performing month, they can get fucking rid of you. So you aren't like tied to this company in a contractual basis where you're going to get equity and you're going to get this, right? You're just an independent contractor. So as a business owner, you are an investor in yourself, an investor in your own business. You hold shares in, let's call it Tristan LLC. I hold shares in Tristan LLC. Let me just make sure that oh yeah, okay. So you're going to have bad months. You're going to get on a new offer. The offer owner might cut the ad spend. The lead quality might dip because of the messaging changing for like 6 weeks. Sometimes there might not be a reason at all, right? You're just a fucking human. That's the game. These things will happen. When you run a business, you're going to have a fucking month that produces 200,000 and all of a sudden next month it's 50% of the revenue. And then you got to be like, holy shit, we got to fix something, right? Now, investors, of which you are in your own business, behave in a certain way. Investors don't make short-term decisions. Investors make long-term decisions over long periods of time, over long portions of data, right? And so Amazon, Apple, Google, all of these companies, the people who invest in these companies make decisions based on quarterly and annual earning reports. If Amazon posts a net loss in the month of February, people are not going to go and fucking sell off the stock. Why? Because that would be a ridiculous decision to make. It's a short-term result. It has no bearing over the long-term, performance of the company. Nobody is making monthly decisions in these companies, except you are. Just because everybody's like, oh, I made 10K last month. Oh, I'm a 20K per month closer. It's like, I'd rather know if you're a $500,000 per year closer and you produced $100,000 in January, February, and March. And then 3 months before that, you produced like 20K. Why? Because it's an indication of long-term growth and performance, right? And so what you guys do is you make 10K, even though you average 15 to 18, or you make 3K, even though you average 10 to 12, and then you liquidate your understanding or your belief in yourself. You sell the shares in yourself every single month. You sell off your own self-belief. And it's ludicrous, right? Like I said, Amazon doesn't call its shareholders and say, hey, just so you know, we posted a loss in March. God, nobody gives a fuck. If I'm investing in these companies, I'm looking at the quarterly earnings report. Why? Because bad months will happen. It's just about how you recover, right? A business's ability to recover from objective negative circumstance is an indication of long-term growth, and you should be looking at yourself in the exact same way. Holy fuck, I'm getting tired over here. Let me just drink a glass of water. So nobody in this room is here to play the month game. If you guys are in here to like go tell your friends that you made 10K last month, you should probably leave, maybe quit the sales game, and then ideally, maybe like do something else with your life. You should be here to play the decade game. How much generational wealth can I amass to not only change my life, but the people around me and then the people around them as well, right? How can I fundamentally change the pathway of my family? Like if you came from the mud, how can I literally change generations that come after me? Getting to 10K a month is not going to change the generation after you, right? And so if you are constantly so concerned over what you made last month instead of what you made over like a quarterly period or an annual period, you are just so fixated in the egotistical aspect of sales and the egotistical aspect of, what you're actually trying to build. And this short-term time horizon that you focus on is going to fundamentally not allow you to grow over the long term, right? It's going to cause you to feel the effects of your negative downswings as they happen in short-term periods, right? So stop trading 1 month's earning, stop trading, yeah, 1 month's earning report, right? Stop basing your value and your skill set as a closer on what you produced last month. If you fucking produce way below par under the same circumstances for 3 months, then there's maybe some fucking reflection to be doing. But, a 30-day period is not nearly long enough. Now, I want to give you guys a little tool, let's say, to catch how these things happen, right? I call it the flinch. It's how to catch your state changing and then get back to optimal, right? Step one, define the state that you're aiming to operate from. Oh, my back. The 50K version of you shows up the same way on every call. Not better every call, but the same every call from a very high frequency of output, a very high energy, right? So the same guy appears on Monday morning as he does on Thursday afternoon, even if on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he didn't close shit, right? The same guy operates and feels the same after a close as he would a DQ, right? Over the long term. So make it very clear when I am at my best on a call, I am, I don't know, some energetic, free, detached, whatever you want to call it, right? Oh, here's some examples: curious, slow, unbothered, direct, certain, and just write them down. Whatever works for you, whatever you think operating at this 50K a month version of you as a closer would be, right? And I don't mean 50K a month, maybe as far as revenue, just as far as energy. You cannot notice a place that you've left if you never defined where you were initially standing or where you desire to stand. And then you find the space, right? Stimulus. Jordan closes a deal. Let's say hypothetically you guys are on a team with Jordan. Jordan closes a deal, you don't close a deal. You go a day where Jordan produces 10K in cash collected or 20K in cash collected and you didn't close a single thing. The space is you blow straight through that every time and you take the next three calls as if nothing happened, right? You cannot stop the feeling that you're experiencing when these things happen because you can't control them right now. They're subconscious. So don't try to. Don't try to be a hero, right? You're not going to be able to do it today. You're not going to be able to do it this week because it's the reaction in and of itself is bred into who you think you are and what you believe to be true about society and the universe and everything. But between that feeling that you get and what you do next, there exists a gap, right? So what I would want you guys to do after this, if anything that I'm fucking saying is actually sticking in your brain, is try to find this gap and expand this gap. If I go and fundamentally know that I want to treat my girlfriend with love, but something she says or some behavior she does causes me to lash out and like fucking close off, like that's my defense mechanism, emotional avoidance. So if something she does causes me to behave in that way, then instead of just operating automatically, I am going to sit there in that moment and be like, okay, I automatically did that and I know I don't want to. I'm creating space, right? And so if you see one of your closer friends close a deal and you don't, and all of a sudden you feel like shit and you kind of get the tightness in your chest, create that space. Okay, I acknowledge I got this tightness in my chest. Let's figure out why that happened. Let's go deeper into it. Right? That gap is where all of this stuff lives. The moment the right move shows up and something in you pulls you back from doing it, you get these physiological things, right? You lean back, your stomach drops, your chest tightens, your eyes tear notes, or you smile. I don't know what that is, but the thing is, these things are physical before they're mental, right? That's the entire reason these things work. So if this happens on a sales call, just loop the prospect again, ask him the harder question, hold him accountable to the same standards you would hold yourself to, tell him the thing that he doesn't want to hear, which I'm sure Jordan teaches you guys to do, and then and then ask for the card, right? Cash or not cash, sorry, debit or credit. The flinch comes first, the reason comes second, right? The receipts that your brain will print off when you are coping with something that you don't understand is this person is busy. It's a relationship play. This guy is A-type personality. I don't want to be too pushy, right? All of these cope mechanisms. I don't need to list them out. Like I'm sure you guys know what they would be. They're not decisions. They're just like printed receipts after the fact, so you don't have to look at what just happened and realize that you fucked up, right? It's ego protection. In the space that you can create, similar to the example I just gave, just ask yourself one question. I was actually doing a just a check-in call with one of my clients yesterday, who he runs a business to help people get into tech sales. So I guess kind of similar to what you guys do, but he helps people work for like Salesforce and stuff. And I asked him plainly, I was like, what do you think the biggest benefit you've gotten out of like doing work for me, and why do you think it's different, or work with me, and why do you think it's different than mindset work? And he said, it's kind of making decisions out of a place of clarity on exactly what I want, and being able to ask myself the question like, is this the 2.0 version of me? Is this the choice that he would make? Instead of just asking myself, is this the right decision based on, beliefs that I have and maybe what other people think? Is this the decision that the 2.0 version of me would make? Right? And so you should ask yourself the same question. Is this the same decision or behavior that the 50K a month version of me would respond to? Right? Is this the same way I would behave under the same circumstances if I was making the amount of money I wanted to make? Right? Does he doom scroll after a no show? No, probably not. Does he change the way he shows up on call number 3 in the day just because of the result of call number 1? No, definitely not. Right? Does he book the follow up instead of having the conversation and actually challenging the prospect on their inherent beliefs so that he can help them overcome the limiting beliefs they have so that he can improve his life? Yes, he would do that. He would challenge him. Right? So you already defined in step 1 what that person would look like. That's what I want you guys to do after this. And so you know the answer instantly. Um, just stop talking yourself into copium, right? So run yourself the ladder. Jordan closed the deal. I didn't close anything. Something dropped inside of me. Why? Because he's ahead of me. Why does that matter to me? He didn't take anything from me because I'm falling behind. What am I falling behind from? Okay, I'm falling behind where I'm supposed to be. Who decided that? Where am I supposed to be? If I'm not one of the top guys, I don't know what I am. Okay, why does that depend on my rank in the leaderboard? Well, it's the only proof I have that I'm any good at what I do. Okay, why do I need proof? Okay, well, since I was a kid, it's the only time anybody ever said that I was worth something. Boom. Insane. Do you see how on asking ourselves like 6 to 7 questions, we went from Jordan closed the deal and I didn't, and I felt anxious because of it, all the way to when I was a child, I was only loved when I performed. Holy fuck. How did we do that? How did we get there? Right? Just by asking ourselves some very simple questions, right? And that protection mechanism that you have of I'm only doing this because if I perform well, people love me, is oftentimes what actually gets people to fucking show up every day. And it's a fundamentally flawed reason. Why? Because it doesn't serve where you're going. It stops being about Jordan or about the other person on the sales team, right? It just so happens that Jordan's name is here. It's never about sales. It's about something that happened to you when you were much younger. So the whole thing, read back to you now. Define the state. 3 words, who you would be at your best. Catch yourself when you're flinching, the physical aspect of your emotional response before the actual reason arrives. Find the space, expand it between the feeling and what you actually end up doing. Ask yourself the question, is this how the version of me I desire to be would actually respond to the objective external circumstances? And then run yourself the ladder, right? Why, all the way until the bottom reason, until it stops being about sales. Imagine, I think we're reaching the end here. Imagine your skill is a river, right? So if you have a objective amount of skill at the top of a river, let's call it up here, and it's flowing down the river, right? And at each portion of the river, you have certain rocks getting in the way or certain logs from certain beavers. And that is the state that you operate from or the beliefs that you operate from, right? So every rep has 100% going into it, but then arriving at the bottom of their actual production, it might be 40% because of the things we talked about today, right? The river doesn't stop flowing. You still close deals or you still, perform the sales stuff that you need to. It just runs a lot less efficiently than it should. And so more training is more water into a leaking bed, right? Or you go fix the bed. That's a shitty analogy. Fucking Claude, man. It's like the leaky bucket analogy, right? You put more water into a leaky bucket, well, more water is going to leak out. You guys probably know that one. So your skill is what you build, and your state is whether you get to use it to its fullest capacity. You already have the skills, you've had them for years, or maybe you're refining them through your participation in this community. But what you don't have is consistent access to that skill set. And that is what you need to go and actually work on alongside the skill set, alongside everything that you guys are doing here with Jordan as it relates to your ability to close deals. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure to just enter flow state with you guys here. And if anybody has any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
What a guy. What a guy.
Easy.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, raise your hand, ask away.
That was perfect timing. Fuck. Let's go.
Nobody with any questions? They're kind of shy.
You guys are all perfectly energetic closers who are all making the amount of money you want to. 100%. I believe it.
Yeah, I have a question. So basically, when we have a situation like when we are on a closing call and we are thinking about like, oh, I need to close this guy, I need to close this guy. And even though you're trying to convince your brain to not do that, you still do it. How do you change that? Do you just go into war with your brain or
uh it's not like an immediate thing, right? So remember that the behaviors that we have are a byproduct of the things that we believe and the things that we believe cause us to behave in these ways because of neural pathways in our brain, right? This is like habituation. Like the more that you walk through a path in the jungle, the more the path in the jungle is going to be easier to get through, right? It's like a super highway. So what you need to do is essentially, if you're operating from this place and you recognize that on a sales call, after the sales call, alongside, maybe the skill aspects of what you were reviewing, review why you were operating from that place, right? And it's training a habituated pattern. So if you don't want to go down all the way back to the root belief about why you're like operating from that place, then instead figure out what you would do instead or how you would view it instead and just start doing that on calls because it's remember this is just habituation. The more you do it, the more the neural pathways will be rewired and reconnected, and your automatic behavior will change.
okay, so it's basically like over time thing, like trying to practice as much to change that way of thinking until it clicks.
I would say yes, but I also wouldn't give advice that I wouldn't myself use. So if you're experiencing what you've described, I would encourage you to go all the way back to like why you feel so attached to the outcome, why it's so important for you for this person to close, right? Why you feel like this is the last fucking deal you're ever going to get. Because the opposite or the alternative, typically the analogy I like to give is just painting over mold, right? It might look better on the outside. It might you get somebody coming in for a showing for the home and they might not notice the mold, but what do we know about mold? If it stays, it's only going to become worse over time. And eventually the problem will be significantly larger, right? So you might as well just go back to the root right now and remove the mold and not half-ass it, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much, Tristan.
My pleasure. Anyone else? Go ahead. Eliel, I
Yeah,
hopefully I pronounced that correctly.
yeah, that's cool. So my question is, because for me, something strange happens. A lot of people they feel the most attached when they're like making the least because they need to make money or whatever. But I feel that for me, it's the opposite. When I'm not making money, I just work from a place of like, damn, I have nothing to lose. Let me just see what I can get. But when I'm actually making money, making good money, that's where I feel like the most attached because I'm like, I need to get more money. At home, I put myself into a standard for, okay, I made this money last week, and I put that as my like my baseline, you
Mhm.
know? So like for example, like this month, first week, I made almost like 2K. And then last week I made like 1K. In this week, bro, I'm like at 200.
Mhm.
So it's like, and I'm seeing like other people. I mean, the whole week is shit or whatever, but there's people better than me.
Mhm.
So that puts me like into a state of like, fuck, I feel more attached, even though the other 2 weeks were really good. And right here, like I live in Mexico and I'm 18, so like I mean it's pretty good money overall.
Mhm.
But I don't know, I feel like this I just put a pressure, not even like external, but on myself to hold an image that I just made it in my mind, which is like 1 week or 2 weeks. So my question right here, bro, is have you ever had like any clients with the same exact like example where they're not like attached because they don't have something, but because they just want more? And how do you handle that?
I don't typically experience what you've just described. It's typically actually the opposite. It's like you get to a certain level of money. For example, I have a couple of clients who like hit 100K a month and they just lose all motivation to work hard because the thing that they were chasing inherently was always the 100K a month. And then when they get it, it doesn't give them what they thought. And then it's like, holy fuck, like my world just turned upside down. But typically when you're so fixated on or attached to the amount of money that you're making, it's because you believe that your own self-worth is contingent upon the revenue number or the commissions that you make. Now, the reason that it is kind of difficult to perceive it, maybe for those of you listening, is because that is a motivator. Making money is a motivator. Staying at a certain level of income is a motivator, right? It's what gets a lot of you guys to work hard, right? But it's also what gets a lot of you guys to fall into your negative cycles. Because let's say, for example, Elia, like you made good money the last week and the week before that, but this month or this week you don't make any money, and the next week you don't make any money either. All of a sudden, your ability to get back to making the money that you made in the 2 weeks before becomes significantly less likely, right? Why? Because you're operating from a frequency and a mental state that is so low as a result of your performance in the last 2 weeks that you're just so attached to the outcome. And then you have closer breath, right? As a byproduct of this energy that you're transferring to other people, right? And so detachment doesn't mean I don't work hard or I don't, push the prospect, things like that. Detachment simply means that whether the prospect closes or not, my life doesn't change, but I do everything in my power out of love for the prospect to help them make the best decision. And that might mean looping them 5 or 6 times in an objection. Hopefully, that might be a convoluted way to answer your question, but I hope that that was helpful.
No, yeah, 100%. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Anybody else? I don't believe so. Well, Tristan, thank you, my man. Thank you for coming on. We really do appreciate it. If anyone want to
Mhm.
reach out to Tristan, I'm going to drop his Instagram in the community, drop him a follow, interact with his content, and have a sick weekend. Enjoy yourself, and I will see you all on Tuesday. Peace out.
Class, guys. Cheers.